Hey, let's unpack this. In today's deep dive, we're plunging headfirst into a really fascinating mix. We've got cutting edge AI, some basis and camera tech, and, well, an ongoing conversation about who actually controls our creative output. We've gathered a stack of recent reports, from Petapixel, insights from Hugging Face, industry announcements. It paints a vivid picture of the photo and video world right now. Our mission, simple, really. Help you navigate these things, understand what they mean practically, and maybe spot those aha moments that matter for you as a creator.
It's true, yeah, that the landscape is evolving so fast. I mean, incredibly fast. You've got AI tools promising like state-of-the-art edits on one hand, and then you have these foundational camera companies reacting to, well, economic pressures, user demands. It feels like everything's in flux. So we'll dig into the promises, the realities, and the important questions these changes raise. Make sure you walk away with a clear sense of direction.
Okay, first up then, let's dive into AI. Specifically, Alibaba's Quinn AI research team. They've got this new open source text-based AI photo editor, Quinn Image Edit, and honestly, on paper, it sounds almost like sci-fi. It promises state-of-the-art editing, letting you add, remove, modify areas, even rotate things or transfer styles, all with simple text prompts, English or Chinese.
Which is pretty ambitious.
Hugely ambitious. They talk about handling both low-level visual appearance editing, like removing tiny hairs or adding a sign with realistic
Or
reflection.
something like defined details.
Exactly. And then also high-level visual semantic editing, like creating original IP, spinning objects 180 degrees, or making a portrait look like it's Studio Ghibli style. And get this, they claim it can edit text in images but keep the original font, size, style. They even showed correcting calligraphy errors using chained edits. That's pretty wild for open source.
It is. That blend of capabilities is definitely intriguing. And if we connect it to the bigger picture, the way it works is kind of key. It feeds the input image into two things. Quinn 2.5 VL, that's like a big AI vision model that understands the meaning, the context, the eye, and also a VAE encoder that's more about the pixels, the raw look. For that visual appearance control, it's trying to handle both the what and the how of the edit. But, and this is the big but, how does it actually perform in the real world?
Yeah, the million-dollar question.
Well, Petapixel's testing, it painted a more, let's say, nuanced picture. Some users might get okay edits, maybe passable, but their experience showed, well, significant inconsistency. Like when they tried small, precise edits, the tool often just redrew the entire image, like a new AI generation.
Oh, so not really an edit there.
Exactly. Leading to, and I quote, unusable results. Even something seemingly simple, like restoring an old black and white photo. It looked okay at first glance, but zoom in. You see AI artifacts, edges that are muddy and imprecise, and that kind of black sheet AI generated look. You know the one?
I do know the one, but slightly weird plasticky feel sometimes. So the promise of the perfect AI editor, still hitting some real-world bumps, it seems.
Definitely.
It kind of reminds me of early machine translation, yeah.
Yeah.
When something complex, get back nonsense. We're still in that refinement stage, clearly. Which actually brings up a really interesting point, maybe a paradox. These open source AI editors like Quinn, they promise the moon state-of-the-art, right? But it seems they're often better at the big, flashy transformations, making something totally new.
Animate yourself, yeah.
But they stumble on the precise pixel-level control that pros really need. So it forces you, the creator, into this weird choice between, like, big vision and careful craft.
That's a great way to put it. For now, yeah, open source AI is an amazing creative playground, no doubt. But for that real precision, the reliability you need for professional work where every pixel counts, tools like Photoshop are still king.
Okay, so that's one side of AI, the tools you choose to use. But here's where it gets, well, maybe a bit more concerning. Let's talk YouTube. While Alibaba is open sourcing an editor, YouTube's been quietly experimenting with its own AI tweaks on Shorts.
The unasked for enhancement.
Exactly. They have confirmed they're using machine learning. Things like unblurring, denoising, improving clarity during processing, kind of like your phone camera does automatically. But here's the catch. Creators, people like Rhett Shull, started noticing these changes. Smooth skin, sharpened wrinkles. Sometimes even weird stuff like worked ears. Without being asked, without even being told.
Right.
Shaw was pretty blunt. He said, I did not consent to this. And he talked about, eroding trust, the authenticity of his work. YouTube confirmed the experiment. But no word on an opt-out. It just feels like your vision, your style could be so changing you wouldn't even know.
And this isn't just about, making videos look a bit clearer. It really does signal this sort of silent struggle over digital identity. And the platforms are maybe unintentionally rewriting visual signatures. It blurs what authentic even means anymore. It's like, yeah, imagine having an assistant who tidies your desk but moves all your important papers thinking they're helping. You feel unsettled.
Disoriented, yeah.
Except here, it's your art. For you, the photographer, the videographer, this could mean inconsistency. Your carefully crafted look, altered. Maybe it affects client work if they expect exactly what you delivered. It's a real challenge to keep your artistic intent intact when these outside forces are tweaking things after you hit upload.
Yeah, the trust thing is massive there. But want to play devil's advocate for just a second. Couldn't YouTube argue they're just optimizing? Yep, for a better viewer experience, especially as shorts, which is quick, casual. Is there maybe a valid argument for some platform level autocorrection, even if we didn't ask for it?
That is the core question, isn't it? And it's a tough one. From the platform side, sure, maybe enhanced content drives engagement. Maybe viewers are happier. Theoretically, that benefits everyone. But it completely bypasses creator agency, your choice, your control, and it's happening alongside these broader reports, about Google using YouTube videos to train AI models, Gemini, VO3.
Right, I saw that.
So it feeds into this bigger conversation about content ownership. Who actually owns the final pixel once it's on someone else's platform? It really makes you wonder.
It does. That whole conversation about AI's like invisible hand tweaking thing.
Yeah.
It really highlights this tension. Convenience versus control. Okay, but let's shift gears. Let's move from the algorithm shaping images to the actual tools capturing them. Because of the camera market itself, it's also seeing some big shifts that directly impact your toolkit. Take Ricoh, they've officially discontinued the GR3.
End of an era for some.
For sure. Paving the way for the GR-IV expected mid-September. And it sounds like a big update. New sensor, new lens, new engine, better shake reduction, almost everything. So, it's great for street photographers.
It does sound great, but here's where market realities come in. But price, it's also getting a significant update.
Yeah.
The GR3 debuted around $900, right? The GR-V is expected to be $1,500.
That's quite a jump.
Yeah. And it's not just about the new parts. They're citing component constraints, sure, but also, notably, a new 15% tariff on Japanese imports in the U.S. And this isn't just Ricoh. Nikon also just announced another round of U.S. price increases, effective September 1st, again citing tariffs.
Didn't they just raise prices?
They did, about 10% back in June. Now, with this U.S.-Japan trade agreement eyeing that 15% tariff, well, expect similar bums across the board. Depends where things are made, of course. So for you, if you're thinking about buying gear, this is important. Nikon's running that end of summer savings event right now. Discounts on the Z6 3rd to Z8 S-line zooms. That ends August 31st. So come September 1st, not only do those savings disappear, but the new tariff prices likely kick in. The effective price jump could be pretty substantial. It's a really strategic window. If you've been on the fence about some Nikon gear.
That's a really crucial heads up. Wow. Economics hitting just as hard as tech advancements. Okay, speaking of new cameras, let's look at Hasselblad. Now, majority owned by DJI, remember, they're teasing a new medium format camera and lens. Announcement slated for today, actually August 26th. Their teaser video, brilliance at every moment. It strongly hints at a successor to the X2D 100C, probably keeping that monster 100 megapixel sensor.
Makes sense.
And the audio, it sounds like maybe improved autofocus, and you can definitely hear those leaf shutter clicks. That'd be big for me in format.
Yeah, the timing fits perfectly. Hasselblad's been on a pretty consistent 3-year refresh cycle for the X series. And with DJI's tech expertise now in the mix, it's not just reasonable, it's almost expected we'll see big improvements.
Yeah.
Especially autofocus. That was a bit of a weak spot on the X2D 100C for some people, especially for faster work.
Right, not just landscapes.
Exactly. So for medium format shooters, this isn't just a new box. It could be a real leap in usability and speed, bringing that amazing image quality to maybe a wider range of pros. It's exciting seeing that mix of traditional craft and modern tech.
Definitely. Okay, so from high-end cameras, let's talk lighting. Another crucial piece, right? Because no matter how good your camera is or how smart the AI gets, how you shake white, that's still fundamental. And Godox just dropped something interesting, the 80-400 Pro 2. Part of their popular Withstrow series. It's an outdoor flash, packs a punch, 400 watt seconds, really fast recycle times like 0.01 to 1 second, and a super fast freeze mode down to 127,770th of a second.
Which is incredibly fast.
Perfect for stopping motion, high-speed stuff.
Yeah, and what's really useful there, I think, is how these portable lights keep getting better. Features like precise color control, these super short flash durations, they let you get studio-quality results out on location in tough conditions. Think freezing water splashes for outdoor product shots or capturing sharp action at a wedding. with great color, great exposure, but with a unit you can actually carry around.
Portability is key.
Totally. And that upgraded modeling lamp 30W, bicolor, adjustable from 2800K to 6000K, that's really handy for hybrid shooters, people jumping between stills and video. And crucially, it uses the Bowens mount, so it fits right into most existing setups. You don't need all new modifiers. They position it as that sweet spot, between their 200Ws and 600Ws units. And Palace's power and portability, $649.
Sounds like a really versatile option for a lot of photographers. Okay, finally, what's top platforms? For those of you who want maximum control over your online presence, your actual files, the Turning Gate just released Backlight 6. It's a self-hosted web application. Lets photographers build and manage online galleries, even whole websites with an images-first approach. And here's the kicker. One-time purchase. Starts at $150. No subscription fees.
And that is a huge deal for a lot of photographers. People tired of those recurring costs, the platform limitations, the sauce lock-in, right? Feeling trapped. Exactly. That feeling you're stuck paying monthly forever, maybe without full control over your own stuff. Backlight 6 offers really robust customization, galleries designed for SEO, integrates with Lightroom Classic's published services. Yeah, you can post albums right from Lightroom. Now, the trade-off, you manage your own web hosting, your own FTP setup.
So a bit more technical.
A bit more, yeah. But for photographers who really value ownership, who want a stable, long-term solution where they are in complete control of their online portfolio, managing the back end is, frankly, a price worth fitting. It's incredibly valuable.
Makes sense, owning your platform. And just a quick bonus item, something maybe you'll watch. GoPro, they filed a patent for a modular camera, kind of like DJI's Osmo Pocket, handheld hybrid stabilization.
Interesting move.
Yeah. Now, patents don't always mean a product is coming. We know that.
True.
But it definitely signals GoPro is looking at that compact gimbal cam space where DJI is dominant. Imagine just upgrading the camera module, not the whole shtick. That could be cool for longevity, customization.
Could be. Definitely want to keep an eye on.
But so, wrapping up, quite a journey today from AI editors that promise to fix a single hair but might just repaint your whole picture. But for platforms maybe secretly tweaking your shorts, we've definitely seen that exciting, but sometimes frustrating, double-edged sword of AI. And we also looked at the hardware side. New cameras, new flashes, new business models, all reacting to market demands and those economic pressures like tariffs.
Yeah, and if we sort of connect all those threads, the big picture, it's clear those lines are blurring. Creative control, automated convenience, they're constantly being redrawn, often without us even being asked. So for you, the creator, understanding these shifts, it's not just about keeping up with tech specs. It's about making really informed choices about your tools, your platforms, and ultimately choices about protecting the integrity, the authenticity of your vision. Which really brings us to, I think, an important question to leave you with. In this era, with AI moving so fast, with these economic shifts, how do you proactively balance that pull of new features, new capabilities, with the fundamental need, that unwavering need for trust and creative autonomy in your own work?
Something to definitely mull over as you head into your next project, capture that next shot, craft that next video. That's all for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay lower form.